When it comes to getting paid faster for a provider in your medical billing business, the key player is the provider. The difference between seamless billing for you and never ending headaches. Now, seeing patients, documenting services, and deciding what to bill is the responsibility of the provider. But it will determine if you will be working smarter or you'll be working harder. My name is Tamika. I'm a certified professional biller and a certified professional practice manager. Now, as a biller, you are not coding. That will be the responsibility of the coder or the provider. But there are some clear expectations in documentation that you should be setting for the provider, especially if there's not a coder on board. The diagnosis that a provider chooses needs to be specific. There's a word that I could not say for the longest, and I have finally got it, and it's specificity. Specificity in diagnosis coding is very important. That is something that can get your claim rejected or denied very easily. So setting those expectations that the provider makes sure that they are specific in their diagnosis to the level that the ICD-10 book requires. If it's pain, they need to be specific where the pain is, which side it is, things like that. So make sure you set those expectations early out to not give you so much headaches. Also, when it comes to procedures need to be documented clearly what was done. If it's not documented, it wasn't done and it can't be billed. So if you did a service such as an EMB or something like that, you can't say that you're billing for an EMB, but in the documentation, there's no sign of an EMB being done or being performed. And if you say EMB performed, what was done with that EMB? What are the steps? What things were done? What did you use? All of those things need to be in the documentation. So the provider needs to know that this is something that is required. And one of the things that providers kind of have problems with sometimes is closing out encounters and signing them. If an encounter is not signed, then that encounter should not be billed to the insurance company. Ultimately, the provider is the one who's performing and doing the service, so they need to sign off to say that it was done, and they need to close out the encounter in order for you to send out that claim. So you should not be sending out any claims that are not signed off by the provider and closed out. Then there's having monthly check-ins. And I say monthly because that is what I usually do, but it can be weekly, bi-weekly, however often you want it to be. Now, providers are busy, so they're not wanting to meet with you all the time, or most providers don't want to meet with you every day. But it depends on the provider. It depends on the person. I usually meet with my providers monthly so that we can go over any billing errors that I've caught throughout the month, give them a little bit of education if I haven't already given it to them. During the month, if I see things that are going wrong and I can attach a resource for them, a documentation, something that I found to educate them, I would do that. But at the end of the month, this is my opportunity to bring it back up again, figure out if they read it, if they have any questions, things like that. Also, this is the time to talk about denials, to talk about anything that you see a pattern with. If you've been noticing that a specific code has been denied several times throughout the month, and this is a code that is no longer covered by a specific insurance company, this is the time to talk about that, to let them know that this is what's going on. Also, if you notice that they're billing incorrectly as far as how many units they can do for a specific code, maybe they're doing 5 units, but the limit is 4 units, let them know this up front. So these monthly check-ins are for that. And this is a chance for you to also hear what the provider has to say. They may have questions, they may not understand something you sent. Sometimes emailing and text can get warped and you're not really sure about what a person is trying to say. But when you're able to talk to them face to face or remotely, one-on-one, where they can ask their questions, it really helps a lot. And since it's being done monthly or weekly, bi-weekly, however you want to do it, or however they want to do it, then you'll be able to keep up on it instead of having it prolong out where these errors and these concerns are fostering and they're growing and growing and growing, and then after a year, 2 years, you figure out that this is what's going on. Catch them early instead of waiting too long. So I usually do monthly meetings with my providers, and this has helped me get paid faster because now I'm educating them and I'm able to do my billing faster. And then there's communicating easily, or making communication easy for the provider. Again, each provider has their own way of communicating. Some may want to call, some may want to text, some may want to email. It just all depends. But you need to make it as easy as possible for the provider to communicate to you and for you to communicate to the provider. So if a provider is one that likes to email a lot, make sure that line of communication is open. And so when you are requesting things from them, or they are requesting things for you, or answering questions, or whatever it is, they can do it easily and they can answer fast. One thing about having a medical billing business where you are not necessarily in the office with the provider, sometimes your questions or your queries can take a little time because you're not there to get your answers quick. But if you find the best way to communicate with that provider so that you can get your answers quickly, then you'll be able to speed up that process and not have a lot of follow-up or things on hold that you're waiting for the provider to answer, and that's what's holding you back from sending out your claims. Now, if provider meetings are new to you and you have never done one in your medical billing business, then make sure you schedule a remote one-on-one with me. I can go through things that you should be bringing up in your monthly meetings, the fact that you should have monthly meetings and maybe how you should conduct them. There are many things that you need to have in your medical billing business, and monthly meetings should be one of them. So I'll make sure to leave the link on the screen below. And if you not only want to get paid faster, but you also want to maximize the revenues for your provider, then you would also want to build a relationship with someone who can help make your practice more money. So make sure you watch this video next.